It's always nice to get something you've been wanting for a while. And, I finally saved up my money, picked up a QuickJack. And I feel like if you're really into cars, you should do the same. And but before we go ahead and do the demonstration of the QuickJack, I just want to talk about a few other things. Just first thing I'll tell you is that you need to spend the first probably 30 minutes reading the manual and probably going to QuickJack's YouTube channel. They have a lot of videos that are about 2 minutes long or less that might answer just about any question that you have. Now, what I will say is this. If you got one on order, just go ahead to their website, go to any QuickJack or the QuickJack you like, and if you scroll to the bottom, you can download a PDF manual. And that way you can take your time reading it, because I know how it is. When you get something, you're excited and you're ready to go. You don't want to take your time reading. It is pretty simple to put together, but there's a lot of ways to make simple mistakes that can ruin your user experience. So this is read that. This is cool. They send a little, like, Ampeak owns QuickJack. So they send, I think, their standard lift package with all their jacks, including QuickJack. So you're going to get this little guy, little automotive lift tips, a little an ANS safety manual thing here, another lift. I actually learned a few things from this. So if you just kind of thumb through these things, I mean, it definitely got some good information. But this guy right here is pretty good. What it does, it shows you all the lifting points for pretty much any car from the years 95 to 2000, and that's probably because most body frames have not changed all that much from 2000. So if you look here, there's a big list, even more cars. I mean, they pretty much cover just about anything you can think of. And for example, if you see this right here, sometimes they have like little notes in the middle here as well, that if you do have a car like this, you might need to read. Because some of them, certain cars, you can't lift without their tires or something like that. Just read through this thing. This thing is interesting, though. So this is a good piece of literature here. So, all right. With that out of the way, I'm just going to share a few tips that I learned along the way, very simple tips. The first tip I'll say is that they send this liquid sealant with the unit. I would use this liquid sealant versus using Teflon tape for one simple reason, and that's because it was very easy to apply. You just put it up there and wait this 24 hours, like they say. I have absolutely no leaks whatsoever. So another thing is that the Teflon tape, the reason why they start packing this, actually you can't, again, let me go back, let me backtrack a little bit. You can put Teflon tape on this unit. It's right in the manual. But what they found was that if you don't apply it exactly correctly, meaning if you apply the tape a little bit above the top thread so it can kind of fold down inside of the jacket of the fitting, it might tear off. And that little piece that tears off can clog up a valve inside of the pump. So that's why they ship it with this versus Teflon tape. But you can use Teflon tape, just make sure you go below go at least start beneath the first thread to make sure you don't overlap the top of the pipe or the fitting, and you'll be fine. But anyway, this works fantastic. Another tip is that bleed the lines correctly. I can't iterate this enough to say that I watched, a lot of videos on while I was waiting to get my QuickJack. A few videos I saw, the first thing somebody did was just lift the jack up out of excitement of putting it together, and that's totally fine. But one thing I know they didn't do, they didn't fully read the manual. Because I saw quite a few videos of people. The first thing that happened was that it was kind of jerky coming up, or one side lifted up faster than the other, one side went down faster than the other, and that's totally fine, unless you try to put a car on it and lift it in that condition. So meaning that if you bleed these lines correctly, three things that you're going to notice is going to happen. First of all, it's going to be a smooth up and down. If it's not smooth up and down, you need to keep bleeding. Because again, it only took me about 5 or 6 bleeds on one side, but on the other side, but on the other lift, it took about, around 15 bleeds to fully get all the air out. Just take your time and do it. And what you'll notice is that the quick fittings that you put together when you first put the unit together, they're relatively easy to snap together, but once you bleed the line out, it's a little bit harder to snap them together. So it's kind of like having air in a brake line where the pedal's a little bit mushy, and then after you bleed it out, it gets a little bit more firm. And so And another thing you'll notice is when you lift them up and as they come down much slower once the line has been properly bled. So take your time and bleed these correctly. Trust me, you will thank yourself later. It's going to probably take you about, probably 15 or 20 minutes to make sure you bleed them correctly and completely. Spend the time doing it. Now, another tip is to buy 3 quarts of transmission fluid, because it's going to take about 2 1/4 quarts to properly fill the tank up and everything once you bleed the lines, because it says fill the tank up probably about 1/2 inch from the top. But again, make sure after you bleed it and with the jacks down, come back and check it and put how much fluid in there that raises it back up to 1/2 inch from the top. As you can see, my cords are a little jumbled right here, but that's just because I'm not optimally set up right now. This is just quick demonstration, but everything works just fine. What else is there? Any more quick tips I have here? No, there's not really any more quick tip, except for there's one last thing I want to say about the QuickJack, is that there's one reason why I would say don't buy a QuickJack, and it's not because of anything. It's not because of anything wrong with the unit. It's that if you think the QuickJack is going to save you some effort of jacking up your car, it's really not. I'm gonna be honest with you, because it saves a little time, but at the same time, you still have to lay down or get down on your knees or however you do it to line up the jacks in place to make sure they're in place. And that leads me to, I did forget one tip, and I'll tell you that right now. Let me set that down. You see how I got the frames kind of lined up right with the tires? So the frames are about as wide as a tire. So if you line it up with the outside of the tire, and then once you got a little gap right here, and you know where your blocks are set up on this side, you go repeat that on the other side, you will have both of them lined up pretty evenly. As you can see, that's just what I did here, and everything is lined up pretty even. And one thing, it does kind of arc forward or back, depending on which way you got them, but mine arcs forward coming this way. So what we're gonna do is, I got a piece of tape right here in the center of the wheel, and when I lift it all the way up, I'm gonna put another piece of tape on the ground, like about wherever it lands right here, and I'm gonna measure it, and I'm gonna show you how much space you need in front of the car. So when you lift it, you will still have some working room or whatever you want in front of the car. So with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and lift this puppy up. Let's go ahead and lift it up. It's very simple. You just got up and down right here on this. And then we're just gonna hit up. Everything is in place. So let me back up here so I can hopefully, hold on, I'm gonna try to get so you can see most of the car going up, see how even it goes up. I think this is the best I can do, because the way I'm set up, my wire doesn't, the cord here doesn't reach that far, so I have to kind of come right here. So let's go. Okay, let's see here. That's one click. Go all the way to the second one. It's quite nice and even. Everything going up nice and even. Just past the first stop. Oh, I went too far, I think. All right, so that was my fault. All right, so now what you do is, now you come back down so they'll lock in place. So now if I'm come down. Yes, I had went too far, yeah. So now they're locked in place. That's it. I went a little too far. That was my fault. But anyway, there's another tip. When you're going up, see, because I was trying to demonstrate for y'all, kind of stand in a spot so you can watch this, but don't go too far in this direction here. But anyway, if you look at the car, everything is nice and sturdy. Again, one thing I should have done before is first, before you lift it all the way up, one safety thing you want to do is, I would say, lift it up to the first latch and push it. As you can see, that thing just feels like it's just a rock. It doesn't feel like there's any play whatsoever. I mean, like literally. I mean, it rocks a little bit, but of course. But anyway, so now what we're gonna do, let me get my other piece of tape here. We're gonna come straight down here, get an approximate distance here. All right, let me get my tape measure here. Where does my tape measure go? Oh, right here. Pull this out here. So how many inches is that from there to there? Put it about in the center. Measure from center to center here. And so we got about, so mine for me moved about 14 inches. So roughly, this thing is gonna move forward about a foot, and because this here is the this is the 5000 TLX version. So that means that it is extended a little bit. But if you got, say, the 5000 TL version, it probably would only come up, say, maybe a few inches less. But anyway, that's my quick demonstration. I'm definitely pleased with the setup. Everything went smoothly for me. And if you read the directions like you should and take your time, everything will go smooth for you just the same. Here's a little bonus footage for you that the frame comes up off the ground about 21 inches, and this is with the low pad. If you put the other pad up there, I think you'll get about another 2 inches. So it lifts it off the ground almost 2 feet.